Google just published a massive report showing exactly how people are using AI search right now. I went through the entire thing and found some major strategy changes that small businesses need to implement immediately if they want visibility in AI search. Some of these insights force us to rethink how SEO works moving forward. Over the last few years, I've spent thousands of hours helping businesses grow through SEO and content strategy. And what's happening with AI search right now is probably the most important shift we've seen since the beginning of search itself. The businesses that understand it early and act are going to have a consistent advantage over the ones delaying to adapt. In this video, I'll show you why Google says AI searches are now 3 times longer than traditional searches, the type of content AI systems seem to favor more and more, and the update Google quietly introduced that could become extremely important for AI visibility moving forward. I think a lot of businesses still look at AI search like it's something we'll need to worry about later. But if you look at Google's latest data, the shift is already happening. More than 1 billion people are now using AI-powered search experiences. And when you start digging into the data, you notice a pretty big shift happening. People aren't just trying short keywords into Google anymore. They are asking detailed questions, comparing options, using voice search, uploading images, and continuing the conversation with follow-up prompts. Search is becoming far more interactive and conversational than traditional search ever was. Because of that, the old approach to SEO and content strategy just isn't enough anymore. A few years ago, somebody might search something simple like roof repair. Now, the search looks more like, should I replace or repair a 50-year-old roof before selling my house? That's a very different type of search behavior. The intent is deeper. The context is richer. The person searching expects an answer that actually helps them make a decision. Google's report also showed that follow-up searches are increasing rapidly. That matters because AI search isn't behaving like traditional search anymore. It behaves more like a conversation. Someone asks one question, then another, then another. And the content that performs well is usually the content that keeps supporting that journey naturally. This is also why a lot of thin AI-generated content is starting to struggle over time. Some websites saw quick traffic growth after publishing hundreds of AI-generated pages at scale. Then, a few months later, visibility started declining because the overall quality of the site became inconsistent. Or to cite Lily Ray, it works until it doesn't. One strong page can't help you rank. 500 weak pages can quietly damage trust across the entire domain. And this pattern isn't really new. Search engines have always adapted to shortcuts eventually. If an agency publishes a top 10 SEO agencies article and magically ranks itself number one every single time, algorithm eventually notice the pattern. And we see this happening right now with this type of listicles that worked for several months. But the algorithm noticed and took action. And that doesn't mean AI content is useless. It means volume alone is not a strategy. What seems to matter much more now is usefulness, clarity, specificity, and depth. And this is where the report becomes really interesting. One of the strongest signals in the data is how conversational searches are becoming. So instead of writing generic headlines like mortgage approval tips, a stronger version would be, Can I buy a house with self-employment income if I've only been in business for 2 years? That sounds much closer to how real people actually interact with AI search. It's specific, it contains context, it reflects intent, much more accurate. And AI systems seem to respond much better to that type of structure. The second thing I noticed is that action-oriented context appears to be gaining traction very quickly. What I mean by that is content that helps somebody actually do something. A traditional article might explain how to plan a trip to Tokyo. A stronger AI search version would actually give the reader the plan, day by day itinerary, estimated costs, restaurant suggestions, train routes, budget alternatives, neighborhood recommendations. In other words, the content solves the problem directly instead of dancing around it. For 2,000 words, hoping for a backlink from a lifestyle blogger in 2019. I think AI search engines are getting much better at identifying content that genuinely helps somebody move forward. And this naturally leads into another major shift: follow-up optimization. This part is important. The strongest pages today don't just answer one question, they answer the next several questions too. If somebody lands on a kitchen remodeling page, the follow-up questions are usually predictable. How long does it take? What does it cost? Do permits matter? Which material lasts longest? Can you stay in the house during renovations? The pages that naturally guide users through those additional questions provide much stronger context overall. And from a user perspective, it simply creates a better experience. If you want a practical framework for structuring pages this way, I link my on-page SEO checklist below. It will help you organize content in a way that aligns much better with how AI search systems evaluate websites. Now, another major takeaway from Google's report is how quickly search is becoming multimodal. 1 in 6 AI searches now involve something beyond text. That includes voice, images, video, and live visual search. This matters a lot more than people realize. Let's say you run a landscaping company. A page with only text explaining backyard transformation is one thing. But once you add before and after photos, diagrams, videos, project visuals, and descriptive alt text, the page becomes much easier for AI systems to interpret. And honestly, it also becomes far more convincing for actual humans too. Because trust is visual. People want proof. They want to see the work. This is especially important for local businesses, contractors, clinics, designers, home services. Really, any business where visual credibility matters. Now, up to this point, most of these changes have been about content, but Google is also starting to hint at something deeper: how AI systems interact with websites themselves. This part flew under the radar for a lot of people. Google recently introduced new agentic browsing indicators inside Lighthouse through Chrome Canary. That may sound extremely technical, but the bigger takeaway is actually pretty simple. Google is preparing for a world where AI systems navigate websites more independent, not just humans. AI systems too. That means website structure, accessibility, machine-readable organization, and AI-friendly formatting could become much more important over time. You're already starting to see this with things like LLM.txt files. For a while, a lot of people dismissed LLM.txt as unnecessary. Now, Google is signaling that AI agents may actively look for these machine-readable summaries. to better understand website content. Think of it like creating a simplified instruction layer for AI systems. The easier your site is to interpret structurally, the easier it becomes for AI tools to retrieve accurate information from it. And I think this is where SEO starts evolving beyond traditional keyword optimization. We are moving toward a model where websites increasingly need to communicate clearly with both humans and AI systems at the same time. That doesn't mean SEO is disappearing. If anything, strategy becomes more important because now clarity matters more, structure matters more, context matters more, and the usefulness matters a lot more. The direction here feels pretty clear. Search is moving away from isolated keywords and toward deeper context, clearer answers, and more complete experiences, which means visibility increasingly comes from usefulness, clarity, structure, and trust, not just publishing more content than everybody else. The businesses that perform well in AI search won't be the one flooding the internet with generic pages. It will be the ones creating the clearest and most genuinely useful experience for the user. And honestly, that's a good thing. Because the internet already has enough articles that begin with, "Welcome to this ultimate guide, where we will dive deep into." We've all suffered enough. And if you want help adapting your SEO strategy for AI search, check out the resources below, including my SEO audit checklist and related videos on AI optimization and content strategy.